see Donnie and George down front. They're probably going to ask for my resignation tonight.
Why?
For cutting Patarakasaw.
Oh.
Yeah, George said he was going to have me removed. If I don't resign, he's going to remove me with disgrace.
Because he has that power.
He has that power. I've got the power. Yeah, they were at this thing, at the Space Coast thing last night. Hello, let's go. Oh, okay. Good morning. The regular school board meeting for June 14th, 2016 is now in session. Pam, roll call, please.
Mr. Craig?
Present.
Mrs. Belford?
Present.
Mrs. Henderson?
Here.
Mrs. Nisi?
Here.
And Mr. Ziegler.
Here. Michelle Irwin, Director of Community Relations, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Irwin.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, please join me in a moment of silence for those who lost their life in the tragedy over the weekend in Orlando. Thank you. Before we move any further, I'd like to offer my fellow board members the opportunity for any recognitions or shout-outs. Any board members have anything they'd like to? Mr. Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to, many times I've talked about tone at the top and what, that means. The example that we set, the words that we use, the way that we communicate and show how we act in front of others. And over the weekend, I had just an amazing experience that I truly believe is generated through our schools, specifically two individuals because of just the location. But many of you know my son has some severe genetic disorders and that type of thing. But he had a birthday party on Sunday where he doesn't really have a lot of close friends, but he invited a couple of them to show up. And one of the young ladies that he invited a girl and a boy, and one of the young ladies called and asked my wife if she could bring several of his friends from the school that truly cared about him and really wanted to just hang out with him and see him. And amazing, because over 24 kids showed up from Merritt Island High School to his birthday party. And so when you look back at where they get that inspiration and the time that they took out of their day and spent the whole day hanging out with him and doing that. They went to Jefferson, they go to Merritt Island, and I have to draw a line back to the leadership at those schools, Lori Spinner and Molly Vega at Merritt Island. Obviously, we are doing something right, and I just want to thank both of them, but not only them, because I know that they are just examples of the leadership that we have in our schools, and I just want to thank each and every one of the leadership that show that example. And if that's an example of what our kids are or the future of Brevard, we're in a pretty good place, so thanks.
Anybody else? Ms. Belford?
Just a quick shout out to our staff that has been really hustling over the past week to make sure that we are presented with information today that allows us to make the best decisions moving forward. Without going into specifics there, I think they know who we're talking about, but there certainly is a team along with Dr. Blackburn who has worked really hard over the past week or so. So I'm very appreciative of those efforts and feel much better with what is on our agenda today as a result. So thank you.
I would like to thank the Brevard Schools Foundation for putting together a pre-party and a golf tournament that brings in thousands and thousands of dollars to our school system from businesses all over the United States. It's always a huge success, and I really appreciate their efforts for that, and it's only to help our students. And also, I had the opportunity to attend the technology workshop over at Viera High a couple weeks ago, where they had an inspirational speaker about technology, and they teach our teachers different techniques for the classroom. And it is a huge success every year. The place was packed, not a parking spot left at Viera High School, so you know how many people were there. And they took over the school with classrooms teaching our teachers, and I really appreciate our school district putting that together. The teachers appreciate it, and I just want to say thank you to everybody that was involved in that.
Thank you. Mrs. Nisi? And just to piggyback on that, Mrs. Henderson, for everybody to know, that was a full house at the Brevard Educational Technology Conference, and everybody was there on a voluntary basis, which is just amazing to see that dedication from the employees to be involved. I have one shout out today, and that's to my fellow board members. And that's because multiple times a year, we just did this again last week, we go to Florida School Board Association Conference and other conferences, and we go there to basically to learn, to network with fellow board members from across the state, and to listen to speakers, people from the state level, Department of Education, and to learn what's going on, what's trending, what things may be coming in front of us, and how to deal with things in front of us. It's a very important educational process, and I don't believe that all elected officials out there take advantage of the training in their industry, but I'm very proud of this board for doing that on a regular basis, and thank you all for doing that. It makes running our board meetings a lot easier and a lot more professional, and thank you, Dr. Blackburn, also for doing the same and participating in all of that training. Okay, with that being said, that brings us to the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Blackburn.
Mr. Ziegler and members of the board, on this morning's agenda, we have administrative staff recommendations, 2 recognition items, 1 presentation, 30 consent items, 3 action items, and 13 information items. You also have the yellow supplemental agenda, which are changes made to the agenda since being released to the public. There is a revision, administrative staff recommendations, 2 consent revisions to items F13 on leadership job descriptions and F18 on administrative and professional reappointment nominations for 2016-2017. A revision to action item G40 on purchasing solicitations, and a revision to information item H45 on approval of Orion Preparatory Academy charter.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn. What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Belford, seconded by Mrs. Henderson. Is there any discussion? Please vote on the agenda. We having technical difficulties again? John again? Let's do a quick voice vote. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Dr. Blackburn, let's move on to administrative staff recommendations, please.
Under item A5, you have 18 administrative staff recommendations to consider.
What are the wishes of the board?
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Nisi, second by Mrs. Henderson. Any discussion? Not hearing any, please vote. Passes 5-0. Dr. Blackburn.
Before we go further, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the administrative staff members present this morning. And Mrs. Irwin is going to help me do that. First up, congratulations to Marilyn Sylvester on her reclassification. You didn't let me finish telling you why. Congratulations to Marilyn Sylvester on her reclassification and transfer from the position of principal at Longleaf Elementary to the position of Director of Elementary Leading and Learning. Now you can do what you do.
Well, I'd like to say thank you first to Mrs. Klein for this opportunity to be up here and do some exciting things with the new Department of Elementary Leading and Learning. I have some people I'd like to introduce today. I have Terry Buchanan with me. She's a very dear friend, and we taught together for over 10 years, and she's been always very supportive. And I have my AP, Catherine, stand up. This is Catherine Murphy. She's the assistant principal at Longleaf, and she is just always there, and she's going to be the person who brings Longleaf to the next level. Thank you, Catherine. And the people I'd like to introduce most of all are some of my teachers who are here today, because they are the people who make me look good. They're the ones who do such amazing things at Longleaf. They're the ones who make Longleaf the special school they are. So if you're from Longleaf, could you please stand up? So I just want to say thank you for this opportunity.
Congratulations to James Maharis on his Maharis on his reclassification and transfer from the position of assistant principal at Hoover Middle to the position of assistant director of student activities.
Thank you very much. I first want to say thanks to the board and Dr. Blackburn being a new position. I certainly am looking forward to it eagerly, not because I have a passion for the things that it's going to cover, but I'm looking forward to collaborating with a lot of great people here at the district to take that vision and turn it into a reality. I want to thank Ms. Weibelt, my principal for the past 2 years at Hoover, who's been my mentor and guided me. And even after 11 years as administrator, there's always things to learn. I appreciate everything she does. Dr. Beth Fetty is here. I want to let her know I'm looking forward to working for her. And again, I'm excited about the opportunity that her and the committee gave me, as well as Mr. Solomon, who I worked with before. Looking forward to his guidance and taking some things hopefully off his plate. Also want to recognize my wife, Linda, who's not here today, my daughter, Devin, who's out of state in college, and my son, who's overseas, proudly serving in the Air Force. That's probably my biggest support group. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to Angela Ellis on her reclassification and transfer from the position of guidance service professional teacher at Madison Middle to the position of assistant principal at Fair Glen Elementary.
Thank you, school board and Dr. Blackburn. First, I'd like to start off with Ms. Tomlinson and Ms. Tagey and Mr. Torres for their unbelievable support, the unlimited leadership opportunities I've had there, and their guidance along the way. To Mr. Spinner, 10 years ago, you took a chance on me and offered me my very first teaching job, and I would not be in Brevard County without you. To Dr. Mella and to Ms. Brockwell, who are not here but watching, thank you for motivating me to be an educational leader. To Dr. Reinhardt, to Ms. Klein, and to Ms. Cornell, thank you for your support and the process along the way. And to my family, thank you for your unconditional love. Would not obviously be here without you. And finally, to Dr. Dunkel, I am just so pleased to be the next assistant principal at Fair Glen, and I cannot wait to work with you and the Fair Glen community. Thank you.
Congratulations to Shauna Spear. Did I say that right? It's Channa. Congratulations to Channa Spear on her appointment to the position of Assistant Principal at Cambridge Elementary.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I'm actually coming from Orange County, so I'm new as an employee of Brevard County, but I'm a product of Brevard County. I graduated from Rockledge High School. I'm a fifth-generation Brevard County resident. I'm so excited to be back. So thank you so much to my family who is here to support me always, friends from work, and especially to Dr. Smith for believing in me, and thank you, board members, for approving me in this position. I promise not to let you down. Thank you so much.
Congratulations to Monica Weber on her reclassification and transfer from the position of teacher at Mila Elementary to the position of assistant principal at Gulfview Elementary.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn. I just want to say thank you to Ms. Back and my principal, Ms. Dufresne, who couldn't be here today, but she wanted to, for all the amazing leadership opportunities they've given me at Mila. And I want to say thank you to Mr. Chambers and Ms. Klein for this opportunity to be a leader at Gulfview. I look forward to it. And also to my husband, Ryan, who has been my backbone and my support through my whole entire career.
These names are getting difficult. If I make a mistake, someone tell me. Congratulations to Angel Lizek on her reclassification and transfer from the position of literacy coach teacher at Harbor City Elementary to the position of assistant principal at Sea Park Elementary. Did I say your name right?
No, but that's okay.
No, it's not.
It's really Angel Lizick.
Angel Lizick.
But
Congratulations.
Thank you. I want to thank Ms. Leiba. First of all, I have had the opportunity to work for her as a teacher as well as a literacy coach over the years, and I greatly appreciate this opportunity to be the assistant principal at Sea Park and Satellite Beach, and it's the best school on the beach. So. And I also want to thank all of my colleagues, my friends, my family. My husband's here today, and there are so many instructional leaders in the room today that have helped guide me on my journey, and thank you very much.
Congratulations to Janine Jost on her reclassification and transfer from the position of Title I teacher at Westside Elementary to the position of assistant principal at Palm Bay Elementary.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and the board for your approval. I would like to first thank my mentors, Mrs. Curtis, Miss Rogers, who's sitting over there, wave Miss Rogers, and Mrs. Passanisi. These three wonderful ladies have helped me along the way and helped build my leadership skills. I am looking forward to serving the community of Palm Bay Elementary School, and Westside Elementary School will be in my heart. They're my family. They've taught me, to the parents, to the students. They've got me where I am today. So thank you all very much.
Congratulations to Lori Cantaloupe on her reclassification and transfer from the position of literacy coach teacher at Space Coast Junior Senior High to the position of assistant principal at Astronaut High School.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and board members for this opportunity, and thank you to Mrs. Miller also. I would like to also thank the staff at Space Coast Junior Senior High School, and especially Mr. Spinner, my family, who's always been there for me, and Mrs. Felker, who's on the other side of the room. My daughter Morgan and my husband Mike are here as well. Thank you to all of you.
Congratulations to Bradley Merrill on his reclassification from the position of 10-month assistant principal at Bayside to the position of 12-month assistant principal at Bayside.
Staying in the same place. Thank you, Dr. Blackburn, board members. I was born and raised in Palm Bay, so thank you so much for the opportunity to continue to serve the Palm Bay community. I want to especially thank my wife for her support and also her patience, mostly the patience of those things. Also my parents for their guidance over the last 31 years, and also Ms. Christine Moore, the principal of Bayside High School. Her leadership and guidance, the long conversations that we've had, and her mentorship has been invaluable. I would not be anywhere near where I am today if it wasn't for her, so thank you very much.
Congratulations to Jennifer Bourne on her reclassification and transfer from the position of 10-month assistant principal at Enterprise Elementary to the position of 12-month assistant principal at Madison Middle School.
I'd like to thank Dr. Blackburn, of course, and the school board. Thank you so much for approving my new position. I started out teaching at Anderson Elementary School with a bunch of rock star people, and then I moved on to Williams Elementary School, again, working for 13 years with some of the most amazing teachers I've ever seen. I left there and worked at ESF with Bill Hall and Pat Shelton and Lynn Conroy, and it was such a blessing for me to be able to do that. They saw things in me that I didn't even know existed, and they encouraged me, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. Jane Klein, thank you so much for your support, and Dr. Reinhardt and DJ Cornell, who saves me on a regular basis when you're struggling with things as an administrator. I'm leaving Enterprise Elementary School, and it was an amazing blessing to be there. I was there for the last 3 years. I worked with Jean Bartleson, of course, and an amazing staff, and it was a perfect fit for me to continue growing as a leader. I'm so excited about the opportunity to work with Sherry Tomlinson and Rebecca Tagey on the team at Madison. They're doing amazing things, and I'm ready. I'm thrilled to have this opportunity. My children couldn't be here because they live all over the planet. Not really, but my son Logan's in California, my daughter Brittany's in Texas, my daughter Alexis is in Colorado, my daughter Samantha's in Cocoa but working in Dunedin, and this is my baby, 10-year-old Riley Bourne, who did show up today. And I'm blessed to have my mom and dad present, and thank you so much for all of your support.
Congratulations to Catherine McNutt on her reclassification from the position of Guidance Service Professional Teacher at Melbourne High to the position of Assistant Principal at Melbourne High.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and board members. I'd like to first thank Dr. Reinhardt, Dr. Mullins, and Mr. Kirk for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to continuing to work with the amazing administration and staff at Melbourne High School. Mr. Flora, who is here today, thank you for that. I'd also like to acknowledge all of the administrators and teachers and district staff who have supported and encouraged me throughout the years. Mr. Alba, Mrs. Majeskovic, Mr. Wilcoxon, who is here today, and Ms. Rogers. I appreciate all that you've done for me. Most importantly, I would like to thank my amazing, patient husband and my beautiful baby girl in the back there, and my parents who are here with me today. I appreciate all of your love, support, and encouragement, so thank you so much.
Congratulations to Sarah Robinson on her reclassification and transfer from the position of Intermediate Baccalaureate Coordinator at Cocoa Beach Junior Senior High to the position of Assistant Principal at Vieira High.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Blackburn and school board members. I'm so excited to have this opportunity to work at Vieira High School. I have to thank the wonderful staff I worked with at Cocoa Beach Junior Senior High School, and also the people who have mentored me and guided me through this process. Mr. Kuhl, who was my principal at Cocoa Beach, also Mr. Alba and Dr. Reinhardt, who have been great mentors to me. I also want to thank my husband, Scott, who's been supportive of everything I've ever done professionally. I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. Thank you.
Congratulations to Courtney Lundy on her reclassification from the position of Teacher on Assignment to the position of Assistant Principal at Vieira High School.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn and board. I want to thank Mrs. Bowman for trusting in me and believing in me for this next step in my career, as well as the current administration at Vieira High School. Mike Alba, Mrs. M, and the whole administration have given me many opportunities to build my leadership and experiences to mold me as a leader, as well as when I was at O'Galley, the administration that was at O'Galley when I was there also gave me those opportunities. And obviously, you can't take this step without the support of your family, so I want to thank my husband who's here, Brian Lundy. We have 2 little ones at home, so I want to thank my parents and my in-laws who are local. We're lucky to have them local, and that's going to allow me to do everything I can do at Vieira, and I can't wait to get started.
Last but certainly not least, congratulations to Manuel Ramirez on his reclassification from the position of teacher at Central Middle to the position of assistant principal at Central Middle.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn. Thank you, distinguished members. So many people to thank. This is an amazing moment for all of us here. It represents a struggle, and this is the culmination. You can see how some of us are more nervous than others. I am shaking in my shoes right now. Please don't hold that against me. I do have many people to thank also. Dr. Blackburn, one of the classes that you attended at the Broward Leadership Academy, your speech and your motivational words were very encouraging, and I truly do thank you for that. Mr. Kirk, who took a chance on a guy who came up from South Florida, didn't know him from Adam, and he took a chance on me, and I thank you for that, sir. Dr. Reinhardt, Sherry Bowman, Anna Diaz, Dr. Mullins, thank you all for your encouraging words. Mr. Potter, my current principal, amazing person. I truly look forward to working with him at Central Middle School and continue to serve our students and parents. And of course, I couldn't complete this short statement without thanking my wife and my daughter. They say that behind every successful man is a woman rolling her eyes. And these 2 ladies, after they finish rolling their eyes, they do get on board with me and do support me all the way. I thank you so much for the opportunity. Looking forward to serving. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations to everybody. Very exciting, and it's great to see all the support out for all of the new assignments. That's tremendous. With that, Dr. Blackburn, we're ready to begin the recognition portion of this morning's meeting.
Item B6 is to recognize the Office of Purchasing and Warehouse Services for receiving the Award of Excellence in Public Procurement for 2016. To facilitate the recognition is our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Penny Zerker. Ms. Zerker.
Good morning. This morning, I'm very excited to announce that the Office of Purchasing and Warehouse Services has earned the Florida Association of Public Procurement Officials, otherwise known as FAPO, 2016 Award of Excellence in Public Procurement. This program places emphasis on continuous process improvement and outstanding purchasing practices. Earning this award serves as a confirmation of the significant quality of an agency's procurement process and demonstration of the commitment and contributions to the public purchasing profession. This prestigious award is earned by only those organizations that demonstrate excellence by obtaining a high score based on standardized criteria. The criteria are designed to measure innovation, organization, professionalism, source selection, productivity, e-procurement, process improvements, and leadership attributes of the procurement organization. The trophy was presented on Tuesday, May 24th at FAPO's 49th Annual Conference and Trade Show in Orlando. As a point of interest, this is the 4th year that our district has won the award, and we are one of only 13 agencies in Florida to receive this honor. The recipients for this year include 3 school districts, besides us, Orange County and Volusia County, 3 counties, 4 cities, and 3 special districts and departments. My sincere appreciation goes out to Ed and his team for an exceptional job. Purchasing and Warehouse Services has truly distinguished themselves within the state, and this award is an accomplishment to be cherished. Team members who contributed to this award include the Director, Ed Parker, Purchasing Manager, Don Richer, Senior Buyer, Catherine Walker, Buyers, Denise Kane, Will Hinsman, Danette Piccolella, Amy Lucy, and Oksana Cologne, Purchasing Specialist, Blake Stinson, Candy Cottle, Administrative Secretary, April Terry, Warehouse Supervisor, Sandy Kimple, Surplus Specialist, Kyle Gotti. Please join me in congratulating them on this trophy. If we could have Chairman Ziegler and Dr. Blackburn come down for a photo, please.
Unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize what a great job staff does, and so it's nice when associations recognize the work done. So it's an outside opinion on what's going on as opposed to an inside opinion. We've got a lot of pride in our staff, but some people think we're biased because they're our staff. So when an outside organization gives such an award, it's a tremendous honor to you all. Congratulations to purchasing. Okay, next item. Dr. Blackburn.
Item B7 is to recognize the Office of Budgeting, Cost Accounting, and FTE for receiving the Meritorious Budget Awards for the 2015-2016 school year. Ms. Zucker, Chief Financial Officer, will again facilitate.
Again, I'm very pleased to be here this morning to announce that our Office of Budgeting, Cost Accounting, and FTE has recently been awarded 2 very prestigious awards. The Meritorious Budget Award from the Association of School Business Officials, otherwise known as ASBO, and the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA. Both of these honors represent the highest form of recognition for excellence in the preparation and issuance of a governmental entity annual budget. In both cases, the district's 2015-16 budget document was reviewed by an impartial panel and was judged to meet the highest standard of budget presentation. The ASBO award is only given to school systems that have met or exceeded the standards of the program, whereas the GFOA award is given to any type of governmental entity that has met or exceeded the program standard. As I stated, these are both very prestigious awards, and we are fortunate to have received both. The 3 ladies that made this achievement happen are Karen Strickland, Director of Budget, Cost Accounting, and FTE, Maureen Mason, Budget Analyst, and Deborah Latzbaugh, Budget Coordinator. They will be receiving the award on behalf of the Budgeting Department. Join me in thanking them for their work and congratulating them. Again, if Chairman Ziegler and Dr. Blackburn would come down for pictures.
Again, congratulations, and it's great to have that those external associations recognize our staff. But, another point to be made, as I did a shout out to my board members for their continued participation in professional organizations for their education, that goes the same with all of these awards. Staff is participating in their professional organizations to be constantly trained and up to date on what they need to do, and that is definitely important to this district, that we continue professional development at all levels to be the best organization that we can be. And thank you to Dr. Blackburn for promoting that amongst your staff. Great job to everybody. Dr. Blackburn, please tell us about our presentation today.
The Brevard County School District has been awarded continuing system accreditation by Advanced Ed, the parent organization for the parent organization of the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Council on Accreditation and School Improvement. Dr. Teresa Wright, who served as district chairperson for the system accreditation renewal process, will make the presentation. And before she goes on, I'm going to embarrass her just a little bit. This is, as the board knows, this is a very important distinction for the organization, but the preparation and organization and leadership that goes into readying ourselves for this is amazing, and we absolutely had the right person in charge, pun intended.
We're going to do all of them.
Thank you, Dr. Blackburn. Good morning, school board members and Dr. Blackburn. Earlier this year, Brevard Public Schools hosted an external review visit for the renewal of system accreditation. The purpose of the review was to determine the degree to which the school district as a system meets the Advanced Ed accreditation standards. As you remember, a national external review team of 17 educators spent almost a week in Brevard interviewing a wide range of system and school level stakeholders, examining artifacts, conducting school visits, and engaging in professional deliberations to evaluate the school district's adherence to the accreditation standards. At the conclusion of the visit, the team announced that they would recommend that the district be renewed for accreditation. And on March 31st, 2016, the Advanced Ed Accreditation Commission approved the team's recommendation. So I do want to note that this is the third time that Brevard has achieved system-wide accreditation, which is quite a task. And so our new accreditation term is through June 30th, 2021. So at this time, I would like to formally present this Brevard County School District, the accreditation plaque. So if Dr. Blackburn and Chairman Ziegler will come down once again for one more photo.
Congratulations. That is a tremendous amount of work to get us there, and I know it takes a lot of time from a lot of people, so thank you. It's very important accreditation. Okay. All right, we now at the public comments. The maximum allotted time for each speaker is 3 minutes. Clarification of information presented and answers to questions specific to district business and educational matters will be posted on the school board's website under a section called For the Record. Please be reminded that profane, abusive, or slanderous speech is not permitted. In light of previous events, I'm going to review a few things just to make sure that there's an understanding of public comment. It's been said in the past by previous chairs, I think it's said every year, that our meetings are not public meetings. By law, they are business meetings being held in the public, in the sunshine. It was even alluded to that we should hold our business portion of the meeting another time so that we get right to public comment. That's not the purpose of the meeting. However, we're glad to hear input from our citizens on items of public concern relative to this organization, and of course we will always continue to do that. Up until about 2014, there was no law requiring that public comment even be part of our business meeting. We have always done that, and I believe all the other government agencies in the county have done that. I'm assuming that hasn't always been the case, although with that privilege of speaking come rules, parameters for speaking. In 2014, the legislature, because apparently something happened somewhere, made a law that says that we must listen to speakers who want to speak to an agenda item, which therefore means that that person needs to speak before something that we're going to vote on at that particular meeting, which is why sometimes we may rearrange speakers if we have an excessive number of speakers so that we follow the law and allow that to happen. Even though that new law is in place, the rules of speaking still apply to this meeting. Our attorney, Harold Beislein, has done a bunch of research. As we know, this is a misunderstood portion of the meeting where people are not exactly sure what the parameters are. This has been challenged in courts apparently numerous times, and Mr. Beislein has given me some case law to recite, so maybe there's some more clarity on public comment. And these are from case law. The public comment portion of a school board meeting is a limited public forum for a purpose of the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. As such, regulation of speech during public comment must be reasonable and viewpoint neutral, but that is all they need to be. There is significant governmental interest in conducting orderly, efficient meetings of public bodies, and the presiding officer has the authority and discretion to regulate speech that is irrelevant, repetitious, or disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting, so long as the speaker is not stopped from speaking because the presiding officer disagrees with the viewpoint of the speaker. Finally, the federal courts have consistently held that the prohibition of profane, abusive, or slanderous speech during the public comment portions of the meeting are required, and requiring speakers to abide by the rules governing the public comment period do not violate free speech protections of the First Amendment, as they are reasonable and viewpoint neutral. As I had said before, I believe that we are all advocates for children here, which is why we're all here, and therefore I believe we should all be good role models, because frequently there are children that are in the audience watching us or may even be watching the videos that we post online. As I understand that Boy Scouts even have to watch a public meeting for, I believe it's a civics badge or something of that nature, citizens badge, and so they frequently watch school board meetings. Mr. Beislein, you commented to me that there was a ruling relevant to, I believe it was prayer, where the courts had ruled we're an extension of the school for that aspect. Could you explain a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. Well, the courts have held that prayer preceding a school board meeting is unconstitutional because it is commonly known that children are frequently in attendance at school board meetings, and they're young and they're impressionable, and the courts are concerned about the children might consider the prayer or the speaking or the type of prayer for the organization to be endorsed by the governmental body. So therefore, prayer to open a school board meeting is not permitted under the Constitution because children are frequently going to be exposed to the meeting.
Thank you. And we all agree with that, and I think we all acknowledge that is a concern at our meetings, and so we do believe in that. While some may disagree with where I draw the line on speaking, most agreed. Not everyone will ever agree with that decision. It doesn't matter where we draw the line, there will be people that disagree. So I ask that everybody be respectful of the rules with no profane, abusive, or slanderous speech. And please don't do anything to disrupt the meeting, and there will be no reason to cut off anybody at the microphone. I will, as I have before, give a warning, and whether you disagree or not, please heed the warning. And I would hope that you continue at that point respectfully to the attendees of the entire meeting and to the process of the meeting. So with that, we'll go ahead and call on our speakers. We're going to start with agenda/consent item speakers. We have a total of 10. We are going to go ahead and take all 10 before our consent agenda. We're going to start with George Dades speaking about consent item of dental insurance. George? Followed by Dan Bennett speaking to consent of teacher reappointment and clinics.
Well, thank you very much. I'm George Daddis. I'm the sales director for the state of Florida with Delta Dental Insurance Company, and you'll have to forgive me. I'm a little bit nervous. Had a little bit too many principals and assistant principals surrounding me, so I'm getting flashbacks of my high school days. But you're making a decision today on the dental insurance, and I wanted to give everybody a little bit more about who Delta Dental is. A lot of people don't know. Delta is a 60-year-old company. We've been around. It's a not-for-profit service organization. We have over 70 million members nationwide, which is about a 35% market share. We were founded for the delivery of dental care to children. This is all we do. We do nothing else. We're the dental experts when it comes to dental, nothing more. Some of our local clients include Lockheed, Rockwell, Grumman, Boeing, Health First, Parish Hospital, City of Melbourne, and Brevard Board of County Commissioners. We also are heavily involved in community service. Last year in Florida, we gave over $400,000 to dental charities, such as the Missions of Mercy, to do dental services for the needy. Here recently, we just did a dental day with the Space Coast Health Alliance, which provided dental services to some of the local folks. And now what the plans are is to do a sealants program for the school kids. So they're working on that, and we're going to be supportive of that as well. However, what I wanted to talk to you today is about the information you have in front of you, because it's very relative to what you're looking at. When you look at your attachments, attachment 1 on the premiums, it's okay, that's fine, it's so close it really doesn't matter. When you look at the attachment 3, which is the PPO plans, one of the things I need to point out to you is that in that it shows that Delta does not cover implants. We do. We've mentioned that we'll cover implants as part of our program. But the most important part that I wanted to tell you about is attachment 3 on the additional fees. On the additional fees, the most important thing is there are a bunch of things that stand out. One, it says an assumption is made, which is incorrect, about very few crowns are of porcelain. 98% of your data that when you were with us, 98% of the crowns were porcelain. So you have to add back in that 75% charge. You just do. The other thing about it is the fact that the CAD assumption, there are not many people that deliver that. And then the biggest thing on that is that on 2750, the one crown code, the second most highly utilized, the Cigna plan does not cover that on crown. So that means the employees would have to pay for everything. Bottom line to it all is don't pick a dental plan that has all these add-on lab fees and upcharges. You shouldn't. They're just not good for the employees, the bottom line. So finally, we hope that you pick us as your new dental carrier and become a partner with us for not for next year, but for many years to come, because you're going to be voting on your medical clinic as well, and we'll be somebody who can help you with the dental side of it too, with on-site dental, celebration, or any other form. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Dan Bennett, followed by Ronald Powell, and then Kevin Hagwood. And if I mispronounce your name, please state your name when you speak.
Good. I was about to say good evening. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, members of the board and Dr. Blackburn. Two quick items to talk about, and they're both good news items, but I don't want to just gloss them over. I know consent agenda things just kind of get approved at one shot, but I want to make sure we know what good's going on out there. F20 speaks of healthcare clinic. This is something we've been pushing, wanting to learn about it. and want to pursue it, want to see if it could happen. We've been pushing this for about 5-6 years now, ever since a presentation done across the street at the county, where we learned how good these things can be in some places. To give some credit, we've been pursuing it for a financial and, well, healthcare outcome perspective. The idea of these clinics is once you pay a boatload of money to a company to run your clinic, then the idea is you get as many people through as possible, and then you're saving money on all your claims on the backside. So if you fill it to capacity, you're saving money on your claims, and you're saving more money than you're paying for your clinic, which helps everybody. So financially, it's a win. And then your health outcomes, it's a win because people are getting regular checkups at the clinic because it's, in some cases, free or reduced rates to go to the clinic. The medicines are cheaper. So everyone's getting good health care. That's good. But I want to give credit to Mark Langdorf because whenever he talks about this in these insurance meetings, he reminds us that not only is it the financial and the health outcome, but it's also a medical home for people who can't afford the doctor. You guys have heard conversations. We've heard it from teachers that have to make those tough decisions between doctors, medication, or sometimes food or rent. And now we have the clinic there, greatly reduced or free health care. Once you pay for your insurance, you have that access. It's going to be a great thing. So Mark reminds us that this is a medical home for people that can't always afford to go to the doctor. The other item has been a long time in coming, and now this is the second year in a row that it's working well, and that's F-17, which is a reappointment of annual contract teachers. The good news here is that we have a lot of annual contract teachers that don't remember the days, they never knew the days, of where at the end of every school year, no matter what your evaluation was, you were laid off. And you get your resume together, you go hit the pavement, you go interview, you try to get back. And as early as about as recent as about 2-3 years ago, we had dozens of cases. I'm looking at Dr. Blackburn, you weren't here when this happened. We had dozens of cases where we'd have teachers would get good evaluations. They'd get effective, highly effective, and then not reappointed. And we'd call out principals and say, why wouldn't you want a highly effective teacher back? And we get kind of maybe some wishy-washy answers with, well, yeah, they were good, but they're not a right fit for the school. And we say, what does that mean? We're supposed to have an objective system here. We got into our contract, and the district was asking at the bargaining table, say, you sure you want that? Because now principals are going to tell the truth on the evaluation. We'd say, yes, of course we want you to tell the truth on the evaluation. If you see a problem, tell us about it. Don't just write out the year. Tell us the problem when it happens so we can fix it. And that's what we've been working under for the last 2 years. So you guys are probably just going to consent agenda approve that, but I want to make sure we all realize what a victory that is for all of our annual contract teachers. They have their benefits, they have their jobs. It's good for the county because we're keeping good teachers here in Brevard County. It's good for the kids because we have stability in the workforce and their teachers in the classroom. And we appreciate it. Please vote yes, by the way, on both those items.
Yes, sir. Ronald Powell.
Good morning. I'm actually kind of sidetracked a little bit and want to speak about the Florida Educational Equity Act update that's come into you guys, I believe, today. The FEEA is a reporting tool that enables the OEEO to monitor and ensure adherence to provisions of the law.
Please speak in the microphone so we can hear you a little clearer.
Is that better?
Thank you.
I hear an echo, that works. This act was amended in 1993 to mandate stronger monitoring and enforcement in athletics. This board is considering policy changes that will have a direct impact in relationship to this act, potentially weakening the gender equality in athletics. I ask each board member to independently and individually conduct research into Alaska's Haines High School and their recent advancement of a senior male who claimed honors in the state field and track events while participating on a girls' team. I will propose that your current advancement of discussion and consideration of the LGBT political agenda will have a negative impact on the female student athletic population, potentially costing them not only recognition of their work and dedication, but potentially loss of scholarships and recognition in college considerations. Anatomy in and of itself lends a competitive edge to the boys, and if the proposed language change is approved, will potentially prevent girls from engaging in this arena as top competitors. By allowing males to compete against females in direct physical competition, you will not only provide a greater division within our community and distance the sport from the majority of both educators and parents, but will fail to provide for your own mission statement to serve every student with excellence, as you will not be serving the female athletes. This is not a question of if or maybe. It will become a question of when, as it is already occurring in other areas of this country, where this type of language has been established. Reviewing page 23 of the draft, you will find that Dr. Blackburn reports this county is not in compliance accommodating the interests and abilities of both sexes. Review at pages 42 through 62 of the submitted update indicates that 16 schools are not in compliance in some fashion, and yet this board wants to further frustrate the efforts of those schools, parents, and athletes. Perhaps this was not intended. Perhaps you as a board are not really trying to prevent females from competing in sports, but this certainly could become a perception. I would encourage each of you to consider that a change in one area may well affect other areas in what is often called a domino effect, providing for unforeseen changes in areas not intended for change. I've heard members of this board say, that would never happen here. That's not what this is about. I would suggest that we spend a few moments of silence, beginning of this meeting, for people that never thought it would happen here either. Please consider wisely your choices. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Hagwood, followed by Richard Charbonneau, followed by Brian Hartling. Kevin, did I get your last name correct?
My name is Kevin Hogwood.
Hogwood, okay, looked like an A on here.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm Kevin Hogwood. I've been living in Brevard County since 1992, and I'd like to read something for you. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That's the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, the highest law of the land under God. And that has 5 different freedoms mentioned, one of them being the freedom of speech. That freedom of speech is not just limited to your own home or the sidewalk, but even includes this area within these 4 walls of this room. Back at the last meeting on May 24th, Dean Patarakis had his First Amendment right to free speech limited or stripped away during that board meeting. If he had been allowed to continue on through his 3 minutes, there wouldn't have been a disruption of the meeting. Andy Ziegler denied the demands of the public to hear Dean speak. They said, let him speak, let him speak. Andy said, if the crowd doesn't settle down, we can clear the room. Once Dean was carried out by 4 sheriff's deputies, the public once again had an outcry about this. They didn't like it. And Andy said again, we can clear the room right now. He said it twice. Now, the fact of the matter is, if he had cleared the room, the meeting would have been over. You cannot continue a public meeting without the public being allowed to be in the meeting, or else you're violating state law. And I think he kind of mentioned that anyway. 2 days later, on May 26, we found out in the Florida Today front page article by Alana Kowarski, well, actually the details of what Dean was trying to get through in his comment. He was trying to tell us about a teacher named Damian Wilson, who had shown a pornographic picture to his class from his phone in 2014. He was only suspended for 10 days, then allowed to come back and teach. That's rather than being fired. Not long after that, on June 3rd, Dean Patarakis was completely vindicated when Principal Ricky Shepard of the Spessard Holland Elementary School was arrested on child porn charges. This man was promoted over the years in our school system, even after he was reprimanded in 1999 by the principal of Gemini Elementary for having an inappropriate relationship with a 6-year-old boy. So finally, we know now that Dean Patarakis was completely right to say that there are pedophiles and people that are doing inappropriate things with our kids in the school system. So we need to be careful that we hire the right people and that we don't allow people like that to continue. Thank you.
Next up is Richard Charbonneau, followed by Brian Hartling, and then Dean Patarakis.
Good morning. Richard Charbonneau, Satellite Beach. I want to address one thing that I heard on the Bill Mick show regarding last meeting. I don't carry a gun in the school. See this bag here? It's got my insulin kit. It's got a flashlight. It's got my credit cards in there. Anybody wants to look at it can. I don't carry a gun. No matter what anybody says, I would never do that in school. Second of which, I wasn't trying to interfere with, to make things worse with Dean. I was just trying to get Dean to come with me and leave the room. That's all. Regarding that, the next thing I want to talk about is, I actually talked to Dan Bennett about it, about, vetting the teachers and vetting the principals a little bit better. I applied for a job as a part-time helicopter pilot as a reserve police officer with the Sheriff's Patrol. And I had to take the, I don't know if you know what the MMPI is, but I had to take the 700-question MMPI. I went through a lie detector test, background, FBI, Interpol. They checked my high school records, and they even walked up and down my street and knocked on doors just to fly the helicopter for free 3 days a week. That may be excessive to do that for the teachers, but I think there needs to be some better vetting. I live right next to Ricky Shepard and next to that school there, and that's just a travesty. I know the last time the chairman said, we stubbed our toe on the $6 million loss for the computer. Well, I think on the Ricky Shepard thing, we did more than stub our toe. We let a pedophile in, and I'm only reading from the FBI report. The FBI report says that he had videos of children having sex with animals. Now, this is beyond any kind of mental insanity that I've ever dealt with. And here he is, working for us. And, why do we not catch him? The other issue that I picked up on was the chairman mentions that what his powers are and what his powers aren't, and the freedom of speech. I'm going to wind it up here pretty quick. I think that the chairman cut Dean Padarakis off just because he didn't want to hear what Dean Padarakis had to say. Dean Padarakis wasn't saying anything profane. He was talking about somebody that did something profane, but he himself was not doing anything profane. And he was cut off from saying it and telling the people about it, only because the chairman arbitrarily took the position of, I don't want to hear this. Not that the room didn't want to hear it, it's just, I don't want to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Brian Hartling, followed by Dean Padarakis, and then George Leibovitz. Brian, go ahead.
Good morning. It's great that we live in a place where we have the freedom to attend a meeting like this and be able to express our opinions and our views. This country was founded on these very principles, and in my opinion, it was disgraceful what transpired at the last school board meeting, where a man had his First Amendment right to free speech violated. And after viewing the video myself several times, not hearing any profanity or vulgarity, it was plain to me that there was some kind of previous history between the chairman and the speaker that pretty much predetermined that this man was not going to be allowed to have his 3 minutes to speak. No one at any time should ever be trying to silence the voice of another in a forum like this. Public servants, which include elected officials such as yourselves, must be held to a higher standard than the average citizen. I know a few things about being a public servant myself, as I'm a professional firefighter with 26 years on the job, currently holding the rank of lieutenant at a department within this county. I am shocked that this board has not replaced the chairman over this incident, and at the very least, a public apology should be made to Mr. Padarakis. And how ironic that the topic of student safety that Mr. Padarakis was trying to bring to light before he was shut down proved to be so prophetic as just 1 week later, another incident involving child pornography in Brevard schools rears its ugly head and is splashed across the headlines. Sounds to me like the guy knew what he was talking about. What is most perplexing to me, though, is how can someone that has a history of inappropriate conduct involving a child still be employed as a teacher or administrator? I admit that I know very little about your policies or conduct codes that your teachers must adhere to. But there needs to be a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to our children. Stop protecting the offenders. It should be set in stone that if you commit an act against a child, you will be terminated. I have dealt with these predators in my own job, and they do not stop. They are never one and done. So it is highly unlikely that these things that we've seen in the news recently are not isolated one-time incidents. The world is a scary enough place without having to worry about a child's safety when they go to school. And I realize that the overwhelming vast majority of the teachers are hardworking, law-abiding educators who want only the best for their students. I personally have several friends that are teachers, and each one of them is a stand-up person. Unfortunately, there's always going to be bad apples in every walk of life, and that's just the way it is. But for this profession of educators, the need for a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to child-related offenses is even more important simply because our most precious resource, our children, is what's at stake.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dean Padarakis, followed by George Leibovitz, followed by Darcy Otto.
Good morning. As you may know, my name is Dean Padarakis, and I'm a candidate for the School Board District 4. What concerns me about the board and its attempts to silence citizens is especially after the recent arrest of our Brevard County principal, which validates my concerns. According to the affidavit, there were 14 movies which depicted young boys between the ages of approximately 8 and 12 years of age engaging in sexual activities in each other and adult males. There are more details, but are too graphic to share today. Using the medical words for male genitalia that we use in 5th and 6th grade sex education classroom is not a reason to violate my free speech because you find those words offensive. And slander is only slander if my statement is false and damaging. So Amy Nisi all of a sudden wants to vet principal candidates as if she only just now found out that there are pedophiles in our schools. This behavior of the board and its old and worn out response that we made mistakes, but we'll do better, and now on is getting old with the citizens of the Brevard, and I believe they are not going to fall for it any longer. What concerns me is that the former school board candidate, Denise Coyle, exposed these abuse issues and other grave issues 3 years ago, and although we were promised things will be fixed, they haven't. Employees with criminal records who are prohibited by law to work in Brevard schools were working in our schools, and no one was held accountable for hiring them. There is another teacher who Denise Coyle exposed who was bullying and sexually harassing students. And when an 18-year employee, Louis Raffello, came to her and a student's aide and asked to have a meeting with the senior staff, he was fired for bringing the subject up. This teacher, James Wilkins, is now moved to another school. I understand he continues to work now with elementary students instead of high schoolers, and I asked Brevard County why. Just like Principal Ricky Shepard, who I believe had enough in his personal file to exclude him from working with young children, is moved to another school and is promoted, and I asked why. But back to the reason I was arrested the last time I spoke. I came to ask why a teacher who even by the superintendent's letter of reprimand writes, due to the egregious and repetitious nature of this issue, we are invoking Article 18, Section No. What does repetitious mean? What has he done before? How come we don't know this? I encourage you, every student, to Google Noisy Room and Brevard Schools and read all of the cases that they have come up with. Let's not just vet principals, let's vet all employees of Brevard Schools. And let's start with employees that keep getting moved from one school to the next. I think that is a good start. And
Thank you, Mr. Paterakis. Your time is
we
up.
need to put children first. Thank you.
And thank you. That was probably one of your best speeches. Thank you. Next up is George Leibovitz, followed by Darcy Otto, and then Reverend Glenn Dames.
Good morning. I'm George Leibovitz. I live in Melbourne. Mr. Ziegler, two weeks ago I sent you a communication asking you to submit your resignation. Are you prepared to do so at this time, sir?
Please speak in the microphone and we don't interact. You're welcome to speak to us.
Oh, I'm sorry. 2 weeks ago I sent you a communication asking you to submit your resignation. Are you prepared to do so at this time, sir? I take your silence as a no and not an unexpected answer. So I was researching how a public official can be removed from office. And the most common thing that I came up with was, of course, a recall election. A recall election is cumbersome, time-consuming, tedious, and very difficult to accomplish. However, in the course of my further investigation, I came across a very interesting phrase that I found in the Brevard County Bylaws and Policies, which states that the governor of Florida is empowered to remove an elected official for cause. So, I have drafted up this petition, and after this meeting, I will be standing outside for anyone who cares to come out and sign this petition, or better yet, who would like to take a copy and have the petition signed. And it reads as follows. Petition to remove Andy Ziegler, Chairman, Brevard County School Board, from office. Whereas Mr. Ziegler has violated the civil liberties of a citizen to free speech, and whereas Mr. Ziegler has unlawfully caused the arrest of a citizen without justification, and whereas Mr. Ziegler has breached the oath of office he took to, and I quote, hereby solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Florida. And whereas Mr. Ziegler has brought humiliation to the county in local, state, and national media, and whereas Mr. Ziegler has consistently ignored the best interests of Brevard County Schools, its teachers, and its students, and whereas Brevard County Bylaws and Policies, Section 0140, Membership, subsection 0146, Suspension and Removal from Office, states that, quote, the governor is empowered to suspend for cause an elected or appointed board member. Convictions of certain offenses and failure to adhere to prescribed standards of conduct as defined by statutes are grounds for removal from office. We, the undersigned, respectfully request that you remove Mr. Ziegler from office pursuant to these Brevard County, Florida bylaws and practices. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting. Darcy Otto, followed by Reverend Glenn Dames.
Good morning. I want to shift gears a little bit. I'm here speaking as a mom today, one of my most important hat, I guess. And I want to talk to you about agenda item H52, which is on your information agenda today, but will be up for consent on July 19th. I've spoken about this before, and it's because I guess I feel like I'm always playing a game of whack-a-mole as what is the most important issue to deal with. This is filtering to the top today because it's on the agenda. Almost 2 years ago, during a reorganization of the board meeting, I spoke about this, and I shared with you about my family's concern with this policy. I think it's 9700.01, the special interest groups recruiting in the classroom. And I shared with you about the 2 occasions that my family, my husband and I, signed excusing our children from the classroom during the recruitment time. And both of those times, my son was not excused from the classroom, so he was presented the pitch, the sales pitch for the Boy Scouts. And the problem that I have with that, because as Mr. Beislein mentioned today, children are young and impressionable, right? And as adults, right, we can't really condone that, pitching to a captive audience, a young, impressionable, captive audience. So as a mom, that's a problem for me. And when I shared that with you a couple of years ago, I shared a concern about what I consider to be a bad policy and a poor implementation of a bad policy. And then that was a drum I was beating for a while, and nobody really seemed to care too much. So I'm back because it's coming up for consent. So I have a couple of concerns. I was looking at other school districts in the state that also use Neola as their policy to create their policies, and I couldn't find a single one that has this same .01. And I couldn't figure out why, well, except I have some thoughts as to why that might be. So let me tell you what I found to be interesting. One of our board policies is 104.2, which talks about conflict of interest. So before this comes up for discussion, I think we need to talk about that. This policy was written shortly after one of our board members was elected, one of our board members who also sits on the board for the Boy Scouts. So I think before we even discuss that, we should talk about the Neola policy that talks about conflict of interest and recognize that this is a slippery slope. If we're going to allow special interests to recruit, we need to ask ourselves, can all special interests recruit? Can I have the Opt Out Florida Network come into our classrooms and recruit? What about the future NRA, Members of America? What about the Young Republicans, the Young Democrats? What about PETA? What about Dove Bible Club? It is such a slippery slope and not really what our classrooms are for. So I know that I'm out of time, and I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reverend Glenn Dames, please step up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. What a delight it is to be here and share with you today. I've shared with you throughout the years on several occasions. You all might remember I came before you when we had the closing of Riverview Elementary School and, of course, the closing of Southlake Elementary School to talk to you about diversity, especially in our classrooms and in our leadership. And I renew that today. I've become, as has several other community members, become extremely concerned with what I think we have seen as the lack of diversity in our leadership structure here at Brevard Public Schools. And I hope that you all would take a close look at it. I think it came up some time ago in a board meeting, and I think the question was asked, why is it important for young people to see people who look like them in the classroom and in leadership? I think that question was answered so eloquently, so I will not try to rehash that, but I do think that's something that we ought to address. Mr. Richard Dick Blake, you all remember Dick Blake, a legend in this county, was the last high school principal of color. He's been retired over 20 plus years. And we have yet to find any person of color who is qualified to sit as a principal in our public school system. And that I find frightening. In 20 years that you couldn't find one person of color who reflects the community, who can sit as a principal in these public schools. And so I hope that as we move forward that we will keep that in mind. I think part of the superintendent's plan, your strategic plan, I think Mr. Superintendent included diversity, and I think when the superintendent went on his tour, That is the listening tour, I think is what you called it. That is one of the things that came up was diversity in leadership in classroom. And I wanted to know specifically, what is the board's view on leadership in classrooms and in administration, and what is going to be done as we move forward to ensure that all people have a fair chance to serve as a public servant in the Brevard County Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And to answer that last question, I hope you know that is a topic of conversation. We'd like to know, what we can do to expand that diversity. Yeah, what we can do to expand that diversity, right. It's definitely a topic of conversation. I wanted to also make a comment about something that was said, and it's been said repetitively, about possibly conflict between myself and the speaker from last meeting. Just so you all know, that speaker was 27th on the list, and I elevated him to 3rd on the list. If there was a concern or I wanted to use a conflict, he would remain 27th on the list. So I believe in taking the high road, and professionalism outweighs personal opinion. That being said, we can move on to consent. Dr. Blackburn.
There are 30 agenda items under this category, 12 with prior information.
Does any board member wish to pull any of these items? Mrs. Nisi?
I'd like to pull the F-18, the administrative and professional reappointment nominations, and I also want to pull the dental.
F-18, and that's F-21. I was going to pull that also.
And F-20, the clinic.
And F-20, Mr. Craig. Any others? Okay. Pam, could you please pull F-18, F-20, F-21 for discussion? And I will entertain a motion to accept the consent items with the exception of the items that were pulled.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Belford, second by Mrs. Nisi. Any discussion on consent? Not hearing any, please vote. Is Mr. Craig again? Drum roll, please. Almost there. Passes 5-0. Okay, first item, F-18, Mrs. Nisi.
Okay, and for the record, Mr. Ziegler, you know, it's always easy for people to Monday morning quarterback and sit out in the audience and to criticize, and so I just want to state for the record that I can continue to support you as chairman, and we may not always agree on votes or positions, but I continue to support you in that
Thank you.
position, and I would hope that the board on either side of you at some point in this meeting will state the same thing. I see Mrs. Belford down there shaking her head. Do you want to weigh in?
It's not necessary. I appreciate that. I know I have the support of the board and the staff, so thank you very much.
Anyway, on F-18, this is our administrative professional reappointments, and I know, Dr. Blackburn, you and I had a conversation. We had a very difficult meeting and had to face parents about a week ago, and one of the promises we made to them, and I wanted to make to the county, was that before we approved annual contracts, that you and HR would reassure everyone that files would be reviewed. And would you like to make a statement to the audience and the viewing audience today, please?
Yes. Basically, it goes to the commendation or the shout out that the HR staff received earlier in the meeting under the leadership of Dr. Kent. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the legal advice and consultation we've received from Attorney Beislein as well. From June 3rd, the Human Resources Department was able to go through just under 250 school-based administrative personnel files, and the ones that were presented to you today for approval all went through that HR and legal review. That was accomplished.
So I'd just like to personally thank you and the HR department for giving the board and the community that reassurance that there are no hidden surprises out there. So unless there's any other questions.
Dr. Kent, we had talked briefly yesterday about the people that were being moved this morning they're still on this list. So we voted for them for their new jobs, but they're still on this list that we just brought up. So this doesn't undo what we did at the beginning of the meeting. You see what I'm saying? Like we moved a person from this school to that school earlier in the meeting. This still has them being reappointed to their, I thought they were going to be taken off this list. For example, I'll give you an example. On this list, Jennifer Bourne, because I happen to know her, is on here as effective August 3rd through May 25th of 2017 for assistant principal at Enterprise. We just moved her from Enterprise to her new position at Madison, but she's on this list.
Okay, I'll go back and look at that.
I just want I don't know if there's anybody else on here, but I don't want to undo what we just did.
We didn't, we're not, no.
Superseded by the previous.
How about if I amend the motion to approve what's on the list with the exception of the earlier appointments?
That's fine.
Good idea. Good.
Right,
Good point.
okay. It's a point in time where they're sitting right now, and what we're looking is where they're going to be appointed in the future. But I want you to know, everybody that came forward this morning has been vetted. Every single,
Said that.
okay.
It isn't about being vetted.
It's about where they're located.
It's because we took Jennifer Bourne, and sorry, Jennifer, for using you as an example, but we took Jennifer Bourne and we promoted her from assistant principal at
Correct.
Enterprise, and we moved her to Madison
Correct,
as an assistant principal.
correct,
Okay, done. We did that.
right.
This now says that effective August 3rd through May 25th, she's going to be appointed as a 10-month annual contract teacher at Enterprise. So she wasn't taking off this list, is all I'm saying.
Correct.
Which order of precedence would be the most recent vote would be the final decision on the position, and so Mrs. Henderson is right. And so amending the motion would be appropriate.
But there's a time gap there. May I?
Go ahead.
So I think, Dr. Kent, what you were attempting to explain is there is a time gap. So her annual contract needs to be approved to be reappointed for her annual contract until her new position takes effect. Because her new position is not taking effect at the end of her current annual contract. It's a different start date.
Is there a date on that?
So if we don't, we have to cover that window or she's not covered.
Yes, we do not want her to have the break in service.
Withdraw that motion then.
Yes.
But they say effective July 1st.
We'll talk.
I understand that. I
Okay.
just think that it's confusing,
Yes,
appointing them then and then seeing this for,
right. We just want we have to make assurance that HR-wise, that I don't have a break in her service, so she doesn't have any gaps in.
For Jennifer Bourne?
So something I've seen before in this space, right? The reappointment and the appointment happening on the same date creates sort of that challenge, but that's something we can adjust in the future.
Absolutely.
I still think
Gotcha.
she's right.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know, I still think she's right. Because it says July 1st in the administrative appointments we did earlier, and it says July 1st in this one.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Mason.
There's a difference between a reclassification and transfer to a reappointment of annual contract status. You've got to be reappointed, have to reappoint these people under annual contract before 30 June, or we'll have a break in service. So they've been reappointed under annual contract for another year. And then another action would be to reclassify and transfer them.
Okay, so order is not relevant then?
We're good.
Okay.
We're good.
I think the point was order was relevant. We stand corrected.
It just looked funny, sorry.
That would- Okay, that being the case, go ahead, Mrs. Nisi.
So now I can move to approve. Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Nisi, second by Mrs. Belford. Any further conversation? Let's vote on F18. Passes 5-0. Next item, Mr. Craig, was F20, which is our healthcare clinics.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want, and this is just to clarify something. Mr. Bennett brought up the clinics, talked about Cadillac tax. I want to make sure that we all, first of all, understand the Cadillac tax, what the aggregate benefit trigger is, how it's brought. I know you've spoken about it before, but I've heard some chatter in the community that perhaps we don't quite maybe understand why that is an important thing, whether we had clinics or not. Second of all, I just want to make sure that we all understand that, and that the public understands that these clinics are not a replacement for someone's chosen doctor, medical group, specialist. These are an additional option to those who may not have a primary caregiver or that may need a quick visit to the doctor for some malady or perhaps some continuing care as well. So it is not a replacement, never will be, is from the way, and I see you shaking your head, but I want to make sure that that is on record, that we are not going to recoup costs by forcing people to utilize our clinics. The clinics will do that themselves for the intended audience. Can you just address those two issues?
Absolutely. We will not. We are not planning on using this to take over anyone's health care. It's purely an option for employees to take. So, and those that do, actually, we have the CEO of the Marathon Health here who would assure you, just like I am as well, that it's to enhance the existing medical care. Those who seek care, who have a primary care physician in our plan can continue to go there. They will work with those physicians to make sure that they're enhancing that care and making it even better for those employees who utilize the clinic. So we are not taking over health care.
Thank you. And then the Cadillac. Explain one more time what that means, because I think there's a confusion that because exactly what the trigger, what that is. It's an aggregate based on the population that we have as our insured population, not perhaps what every individual is receiving as a benefit. Can you just explain that one more time?
Yes. The Cadillac tax is basically put into place by the Affordable Care Act to subsidize those other plans that people receive subsidies for. How it basically works is this. Once your medical care or plan exceeds for a single individual $10,200 or $27,500 for a family plan, every dollar above that is taxed at 40%. What we do, because we are self-insured, is we take our plans, so the employee-only plan, we divide that by how much we spend on that versus those employees, and we get that figure on approaching the $10,200. For a family plan, we do the same type of calculation. Under our current plans with the employee-only plan, we will be paying Cadillac taxes starting 2018.
So it's based on usage, and it's the average based on our employee group.
Yes.
And the historical usage. So I
Yes.
just want to make sure we all understood where that came from. So thank you.
You bet.
Thank you. It's amazing that we would be taxed. We're taxed on nothing else, but we'll be taxed on health care. Just absolutely amazing. Anybody else have any other input on F20? entertain a motion. Mr. Craig?
Move to approve.
Second.
Approved by Mr. Craig, seconded by Mrs. Belford and Mrs. Henderson. I was like, I couldn't differentiate. Any further conversation? Not hearing any? Please vote. Passes 5-0. And I need to take a quick pause here. This has been a passion of mine for many, many years. Not because I knew what the right thing to do was, but because I wanted the board to analyze how we can do better for our employees and how we can save money. And never thought I'd see the day that we accomplished this. And not just because it's going to save us, as estimated, as much as $3 to $4 million a year in our health care, not just because it's going to hopefully defer paying a Cadillac tax of millions of dollars a year, but because it's the right thing to do for our employees. And I've said, even if it doesn't save us money, even if we just break even, or maybe even if it costs us a little bit, if it's the right thing to do for employees to help employees, because it'll keep them healthier, which makes a better workforce, which then is a better result for our students. It'll help reduce absenteeism by being able to have time-certain appointments that they could go to, be seen, and get back to school. And we'd like to figure out how we can help employees do that without having to take a half a day or a day off just to get their health care. And these are conversations that we're having. This savings doesn't even include what we hope will reap from including workers' comp down the line, which could be as much as $1 million a year in savings for that. This also doesn't include partnership with the county, who's watching with bated breath to see what we do, and hopefully they're self-insured. Hopefully they'll join in. And the savings will be even more significant to the taxpayers of Brevard County and the benefits to all of the government employees in Brevard. We've even had cities, municipalities that are interested in piggybacking this and joining in. So this could be a county-wide win for all government employees and for the taxpayers, with potentials, I'd say, of across the board of anywhere from maybe $7 to $10 million of savings in health care a year. And understand this doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to save direct dollars. To clarify, there are expected trends and increases in healthcare costs, and our goal is to stem that increase and reduce those increases, because we project what we have to contribute based on the trends, and this should hopefully reduce what we have to put in. I wish we had done this years ago. It could have hopefully stayed the increase of premiums to employees, and hopefully if this goes well enough, I would love to see it bring up the topic of lowering the premiums to employees if this does as well as we think it will, and then it'll be a win for everybody. So thank you to the board for enduring me for all these years and for supporting this once it was proven by Mark Langdorf and our consultant that this was the right thing to do. Thank you very much. Next, F21, Mrs. Nisi.
You know, I never did like going to the dentist. I still don't like going to the dentist, and I don't like talking about dental insurance. So sorry, guys. I am so over dental insurance. We have gone back and forth. Is it Delta? Is it Cigna? Is it Cigna? Is it Delta? And we have talked this to death. But the one thing that has made my decision today, because Mark, you've gone back and forth. We've recommended Delta, we've recommended Cigna, we've gone back to Delta, and now today you're back to recommending Cigna, correct? But the one thing that I can't get away from is the back-end expenses. Is the only one that has promised us no back-end expenses has been Delta. And we've had Delta before we had Solstice. And I know I've had no back-end expenses. And that's what killed us with Solstice. And so, unless someone can convince me different, and Mark, and talking from other staff members, I've got to go against your recommendation, Mark, because I can't see, from the dollars and cents you show me, I can't see much of a difference. What am I missing here, Mark? So, I mean, that's what I come back to, is what kills our employees is when they go to the dentist, and that's what killed us on Solstice, is they think they know what they're going to pay. And I look at the top expenditures, and they think this is my copay, and you get a nice bill when you walk out, and they're like, where did this come from? And I don't want that to happen again. And I don't see that with Cigna. I still see those possible charges. I know I'm not going to get that with Delta.
It all comes down to philosophy, frankly. I mean, Delta's philosophy. Well, it depends on the philosophy of the insurance company in reality. Delta, and I've had conversations with George Dades about that. They long ago had all similar charges in their plan. I believe, if I'm correct on that, George, they had those as well. But what they did is they put them all into one bucket. So if you look at some of those fees that are charged, or the deductibles that they're charged, those includes all of those additional fees that Delta may not have put into their one charge. All I can do, and all we've tried to do through this entire process, is to get percentages of how often those charges apply. Early last week, George and Scott came in to talk to me, and frankly, when George came up here during public speaking and indicated that they've included implants, up until Wednesday of last week, they did not include implants. In fact, what I got was an email from George on Wednesday saying, Mark, we got special permission to provide implants. We've been working on this since February, and that's when they're telling me they're going to do this. In addition to that, they came in and gave me a whole lot of other things that made me think, what do I need to do? Because I'm recommending to you that we take Cigna. And the reason why I'm doing that is because from the get-go, everything that we put out, we asked all of the carriers to provide us with a match of what we currently have in coverage with Solstice that include implants, coverage up to age 30, the certain things at no cost. If there is a cost, we wanted to know what those were. And what we got, and please don't be offended by this, guys, but ultimately they cut people off at age 19 when our medical plan goes to 30. So that's why I wanted to mirror what our medical plan is. They didn't do that. They didn't provide implant coverage up until Wednesday of this past week. Well, and I understand the idea of wearing someone down, but at the same time, this has been an exhaustive process for me because I've had to go back and forth many times. The reason why I'm recommending Cigna to you now is they're giving you a $42,900 performance guarantee that those folks are not. They're also giving you a $10,000 implementation fund that those folks are not. So when we advertise our program, when we have to make changes to our computer program to add Delta, we get no additional cost, but Cigna's giving us $10,000. If Cigna doesn't meet their performance guarantees, paying their bills 95% within the first 3 days, we can go after them on their fees. The issues we're having with Solstice is not necessarily the additional fees, it's getting bills paid. Our dentists are not being paid timely. Employees are having a hard time getting things approved. I don't think we're going to have that with Cigna or with Delta Dental for that matter. But from my point of view, what I've seen in comparing, and I'll give you this as well.
But we're not paying for the dental insurance.
You're
Our employees
right.
are, which means we're taking money. See, I guess I see that as if we were paying for the product. So if we take that money, are we going to give it back to our employees?
I would assume it would go back into our health insurance trust fund, which it would, and that money would go to pay for anything that the trust fund would cover. So for example, our trust fund provides flu shots to all people at no cost. We do all sorts of things that benefit all employees. Our wellness programs are open to all employees, so that's where that money would come back into. So I think there is a benefit to everybody on the performance guarantee. Another thing I did this week that I hadn't done before is I compared the DHMO deductible the Delta charges, the that you saw on the list, the $5 charge or the $12 charge. And I went back to the early part when we did the RFP where Delta submitted how many times that had been done through their plans. I come with a price difference of about $45,000 more for Delta than I do Cigna. The reality is these two programs are very close. I'm not going to say that one is better than another because I don't think they are. What I think we're getting with a Cigna proposal is just a better program. That's why I'm recommending it to you. Whether you want to accept that, that's your decision. Obviously, you've talked to these folks as much as I have. I'm just providing to you the information that I received last week, or I'm sorry, the week before last, because I got new information on Wednesday of last week with regards to implants. I don't even know what the full communication is with regards to that either.
Anybody else?
Let me just ask, so if you're saying that this happened on Wednesday, then why did you recommend Delta the last time? If nothing else changed except for that, then why have you changed your opinion?
What happened is, after the last meeting where you asked me to go back and talk to MetLife, I went back and talked to MetLife, and they did not want to get in on the fray. They knew what was going on between these two carriers, and they did not want to get involved in that. So they chose not to do that. But part of what I also did is I went back to all three carriers saying, give me your best and final. If you're going to lower your prices, if you're going to offer something to me, do it now. What you have is that best and final. What happened last week when we talked about implants happened afterwards, after I had a conversation with Scott and George and told them that my leanings at this point was to Cigna, based on what their pricing was reduced to again, and some of the other things they were offering, such as the guarantee and the $10,000 implementation fee. I mean, they sweetened the deal because we asked them to sweeten the deal. And that's one of the reasons why I'm changing it now.
Address, please, the, since we just voted on clinics, the capabilities of these companies. Yeah, to me, I think you've said it right. I mean, I'm familiar with all three of them. I think they all can, they're all fine. I use MetLife now. I've never had a problem. I could, you know, I've had Delta in the past, and I don't know if I've had Cigna. It doesn't matter. My question is as we move forward with clinics, dental, I believe, is a huge part of medical preparedness, whatever you want to call it, continuity, the medical chain of events that keeps people healthy. That it's a key part that sometimes gets left out. Is our intent to do we intend to include dental in our clinics in the near future? Is it part of the plan? Help me out there.
We haven't talked about putting dental into our clinics per se. I can speak towards what I looked at when I was doing the comparison between what Delta was offering and what Cigna was offering now for this particular procurement process. Delta has obviously offered to put in, you know, a clinic, a dental clinic at some location within Brevard County. But it's got to make sense for them from a business perspective, which I'm sure they are all going to look at. But if it makes business sense, they will install a clinic that could be a help if it's located next to our medical clinic. Cigna has not offered a clinic per se, but what they've offered is their SMILE program, so to speak, which what they do right now with our health plan is if you have certain chronic conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, and the like, they offer you additional services such, well, for example, if you have gum disease, they'll offer you 2 extra cleanings a year at no cost. If you have diabetes, they'll do the same. What their focus is on those chronic conditions and the dental services that they would offer at no cost that would help an employee stay healthier. Another thing I liked about what they offered is they will be calling employees who aren't taking advantage of the dental care so that they can go in and have their cleanings. George told me early on in this process that 40% of our DHMO people, the people who take our DHMO plans, do not do any preventatives at all. He also told me that 50% of our PPO takers don't do any preventatives at all. I like the fact that Cigna would be calling those folks and asking them or talking to them about the importance of dental prevention and suggest that they go get those cleanings. We're not going to have that with Delta. And from my point of view, I'd rather drive people into prevention because that's better for us in the long run. But that's just my opinion.
Anything else? Mrs. Henderson, did you want to jump in? No? Okay, I will then. First off, the 10,000 implementation contribution for enrollment. That's nice of them, although, as you know, I have an issue with our enrollment software in the first place. I don't think it should be costing us near as much. And the cost to add or make a change to that little line on the few lines on a website, that's a whole nother conversation. I think we spend too much on that. The $42,900 in guarantee going to our insurance trust fund, maybe they didn't hear the board. We are not comfortable, at least I'm not comfortable in taking money out of our employees' pockets and putting it into our trust fund. I still see that as the same thing. I would have been a lot more impressive if they took the 80 grand they were offering us and reduced the projected premiums to employees by that amount, but that didn't happen. I'm not clear on, you said the age dependence up until age 19.
Age 30, actually.
Okay, but with Delta, you were saying up to age
19.
So when we take the plan as a family, or as say, employee and spouse, that spouse is covered irregardless of their age. But if it's employee, spouse, and child, the child's only covered up to age 19.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Let me clarify one more thing. The 10,000 implementation, it can also be used for the photocopies that we make and send to our employees regarding the different plans that are going to be offered through open enrollment and the like. It's not just used for computers. It's used for any information piece or any additional implementation cost.
Understand. The clinics, appropriately brought up by Mr. Craig, the county has Delta, and the county is very interested in joining in on our clinic model, which I think would be great. If we don't have the same dental, then there's going to be no alignment, and then they won't be able to take advantage of that opportunity across the street. And I think that's a bit of a disconnect right there. And then the last one, of course, is the lab fees, is what is referred to in the industry as balance billing, which I still would like to address with our healthcare claims, because balance billing I think is still a problem. There are times when employees get a bill unexpectedly after visiting a doctor or a procedure, and trying to get that resolved is like pulling teeth. I think I mentioned before, I had one where my wife went in facility once, two different procedures on her arm while under anesthesia, and we got 2 facility charges. And of course, since that apparently doesn't sit well with the insurance company, one was mostly covered and the other one we had to pay for. Couldn't get any resolution on that. I don't like seeing that happen to employees. So, and what we heard, and granted, from our perspective, our concern is suggesting an insurance company that is not paying well to the providers out there, but I believe that the initial concern brought up by my fellow board members was complaints from our employees about the balance billing and unexpected charges after the fact to the tune of hundreds of dollars that they didn't expect to have to spend. And I believe that we saw some notes that on some of these things we could be looking, or employees as an entire group can be looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars in balanced billing. And although it says on the lab fees for Cigna what the expected balance bill is, as I understand it, it's really up to the dentist what they're going to balance bills. So that's just an estimate. When it says from $50 to $150, it could be $200 or $300, and we have zero control over that. And Delta and Cigna has no control over that. And to me, the best way to protect our employees is that there just won't be any balanced bills. Everything is covered for them. So I've been steadfast on that since we had the solstice conversation over 2 years ago, and I've been steadfast on that, and I still am steadfast on the fact that I don't want to see excess fees for our employees. Our goal is to help them, help their pockets, help their health, and so I'm going to stand on Delta also. With that, Mrs. Nisi, you pulled the item. Would you like to make a motion? You can make a motion to accept the recommendation, or you can make a motion for something else.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve Delta as the provider.
Okay.
And I'll make a motion that we...
Hang on. Do we have to vote against, or we can just make a motion to approve since they're both on the table?
Well, the only motion is just, there is no motion on the table. I think Ms. Nisi just made one.
That's appropriate.
That has to have a second in order to go forward.
It's award of a bid.
It's, well, the recommendation is to award the bid to Cigna, correct? Okay.
Well, I don't
think you have to reject it. I think that, you know, the board can take a different, does not have to approve the recommendation. There could be a motion to do something different than what's on there. It's still going to have a second and a majority vote.
Okay. Okay. Do I have a second? I'll second the motion. Okay, that's fine. Any further discussion?
I need discussion on process.
Okay.
Okay, so the recommendation on the agenda item is number 1, to approve the superintendent's recommendation to terminate our contract with Solstice. And number 2, to approve the superintendent's recommendation for a 3-year contract with Cigna beginning January 1st. So I'm concerned that we're
the termination.
Determination, is it an early termination? Oh, okay,
So then
we should take it two steps. You're right.
Then I rescind my second, and then you can.
Yeah, I'll withdraw my
I get
motion.
that. Okay. Well, and that's actually an interesting point, because if we were to move for the recommendation and then deny it, we would be denying the cancellation.
I believe you amend the item.
So, so you'd like to see us move this and then amend the change for the award? We can do that.
I think you can take it, I think you should take it a two-step process, as there's 2 recommendations here. Okay. The first one, you have to have the first one before you can even get to the second one.
You can do 2 separate motions then. Okay, why don't we do that? We'll do the termination first, that's fine.
Okay, so read off what that says again.
Okay. Recommendation is to approve the superintendent's recommendation to terminate district contract with Solstice Dental on December 31st, 2016.
I'll move to approve
The
that step.
termination as read.
I'll move to approve the termination as read by Mr. Ziegler.
Okay. Do we have a second on the termination?
I'll second.
Okay. Let me see. In Belford, any further conversation on the termination of Solstice? Hearing none, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor of termination, say aye. 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 Opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay. Next item, Mrs. Nisi.
And I'll move to approve Delta instead of Cigna in that second step.
Okay, so that would read approve the superintendent's recommendation for a 3-year contract with Delta beginning January 1st, 2017 to provide the district employees DHMO and DPPO dental insurance services. Is that correct?
Wait a minute, that's not the superintendent's recommendation.
No, that's.
Right. But the motion said a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation. That's not what.
Well, she said. No, that's not what she said.
I said sorry, now I'm losing my voice, to amend the second part and insert Delta instead of Cigna.
Oh, right,
motion-
that's not,
motion-
I said, I should not have read.
Right.
So it'll be approved for a 3-year contract with Delta beginning January 1st, 2017, to provide the district with employee DHMO and DPPO dental insurance, which is not the superintendent's recommendation. Okay.
Is it a 3-year contract with Delta?
It is that's a good question. Is that a 3-year contract, sir? Yes, it is. Excuse me?
I'm sorry, for clarification.
Yes, sir.
If so you have the superintendent's recommendation, Cigna 3-year contract, and Mr. Beislein, please help me out. If it's amended in any way, shape, or form, I need some direction from the board on what those amendments are, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, et cetera, because there's no additional superintendent recommendation. Please help me if I'm wrong.
Well, it's to approve the contract, or to award a contract to Delta based on their submission, as you've read, would be, it would in itself reject the superintendent's recommendation to award it to Cigna. So I don't think you have to do it twice. I think you can do it once, but we do have to understand that the motion includes the proposal that Delta has put forward, and we need to be clear about what that is. Okay?
Would you be clear about what the proposal is that Delta's put forward?
Well, without reading the whole thing.
Sure.
What they brought last Wednesday that you rejected is not in here.
I know.
So we could not go forward with that at this time because it's not really in the contract.
That happened after I submitted the
So
best.
what they said they were going to do is not what we're going to get with this new contract. And in addition, I just want to be clear, they're guaranteed prices for 2 years, not for 3 years, but it's a 3-year contract.
Yes.
So it's a bit of a gamble there.
Well, unfortunately, that's where it's done, is up here, and it's done in the public.
I wish that we would have had, I wish that I would have had some notice that somebody was had a problem. We didn't get anything on this prior to this board meeting. A lot of times we say, are we going to, I have a question about this,
I thought this was on the agenda.
Oh, I understand, but I didn't know that we were going to, if I have issues with it, I always will send out my request for more information, which I would have preferred to be able to talk in the terms that you guys are talking about today. Apparently, you guys have, again.
The only thing that I know that has changed, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Langdorf, is the elimination of charging for implants as far as Delta's concerned. And I don't think any of us really spoke to that. And I haven't changed my position on this at all for any of the reasons. So there's nothing new that I'm saying or presenting, other than I believe that while we can vote on this, I'm confident that Delta's going to honor what they committed to you. I don't think we need to have it in a written proposal. Well, if you want to, how can we add that in at this point in time? If you think that it needs to be stated, then we could state a contingent on that.
What they sent to me last week, I advised them that I wasn't going to look at because I felt it was unfair to look at that without having Cigna counter with something different. So the only thing you've been submitted is what happened the week before, which is a program that does not include dental implants, cuts people off at age 19, cuts dependents off at age 19, and its pricing is slightly higher than what Cigna is offering. The pricing difference between the two
is peanuts.
Is about $66,000 a year.
Okay. Just for clarification for those in the audience, there are several different ways to go about this. We could either go out on a bid ourselves, or it could be vetted out by a broker or a consultant. What's been interesting about this process is that it is very significantly increase the offerings and reduce the cost to benefit our employees in the process that we went through. Whereas I don't know if we would have had that much detail if we went through the full bidding process. Well, and I guess, right, I don't see as we can't go through with the vote just because of the implants, unless for some reason that has to be included in a document presented to us.
I would think that at a minimum, the motion to go with Delta ought to be contingent upon them honoring that commitment that they made, that the
That's what I was
implants
saying.
be included or whatever.
I don't know what the pricing is.
We see
Mr.
that's,
Beisler.
see, that's it.
What you have is what you have in front of you are three different choices. The first choice was Cigna's plan that doesn't include implants, and the pricing difference between Cigna and Delta is about $66,000 lower for employees if you chose Cigna. A matching plan to what Cigna has with what Delta Dental offers is about a $33,000 difference, reduction in price for Cigna compared with Delta. So if you're wanting to match plan for plan, then the ones without the implant is what you have in front of you, and the pricing is listed in the attachments that I gave to you.
Personally, I would have advocated for it even without the implant change, but we'll take advantage of that at this point in time. Because again, my biggest concern is those unexpected expenses. We've heard from employees about them, and that's my biggest concern. And it's just going to stand that way. Now, of course, if only two of us feel that way, then it's a moot point. So then that being the case with Harold Beislein's, yes, Mrs. Belford.
Just to weigh in, I don't have an issue with the direction that we're going with which company we're choosing to be involved with. I cannot, however, support a motion to approve a contract with an organization that is based on, I assume they're going to keep their word that we had last week. That's my only, that I can't support that. So while I'm certainly willing to enter into discussion and look at our options here and see how we can make it work, I won't be voting in favor of a contract based on they told me. I think that's where we have to draw the line.
So what would you like, the formal revision of that coming back to us at our next meeting? With that from Delta? Is that what the board would like? Well, that's fine. If that's what you like, we can do that. I don't believe that we're up against a wall on enrollment or anything of that nature at this point in time, are we?
We have to get our literature put together to advise staff.
Okay, so we're up against a literature wall.
We delayed this last time for these changes so that Mark could go out and get best and final. We already did this. And I'm just going to remind the board, I mean, I've been on the board for 7.5 years now, and there's been a couple of times that the board chooses to do this last minute at the final meeting. Look, I have no problem with changing things for when we're prior to the last day, and that we've had ample discussion, but to change a contract on the fly, to do things like this on the fly, boards in the past, and including this one right here, has gotten themselves in trouble by not giving things full thought. Now, if you don't want to give them enough time, if you want to go ahead and change it and have him go back and do it again, Mark, you're going to have to tell us what the implications are of that. But as it sits today, I cannot support a change of something that they were given their best and final, then they turn around and gave another best and final after they were told they didn't get their best and final. I mean, this could go on and on and on. The next time Cigna could come in and say, well, I've got a new best and final. At some point, you know, either a best and final is a best and final or it's not.
Go ahead, Mrs. Nisi.
Well, I was just going to say, I never changed from the last meeting. So I was on board with Delta from the last meeting too, because of the copay was the copay with no extra charges. And so the Wednesday decision was just kind of a nice extra perk, so they finally got on board with the implants. And so that wasn't anything with me either, so.
Okay.
So, and I hear that. So I was expecting both attachments to be there, everything to be there, so I was surprised when it wasn't. And so I thought all the information was going to be there. I thought it was the same information as last time, so I didn't look at it as closely as I should have because I thought it was the same pieces from last time. So I thought we had everything ready to go.
Well, we technically do, and I don't understand the statement that we should have thorough conversation. And we've been through this meeting after meeting after meeting. I don't know what we missed as far as having thorough conversation or saying that this is last minute. This is certainly not last minute. To the point, I understand the point of not having it documented in a contract. And be honest with you, up until that offer of including implants, I still was standing firm on Delta because of the no lab fees. So if the board has an issue with that specific change, and only that change is holding up this decision, then the motion as stated would not include the implants, and we could still stand on that same motion without the implants. If Delta wants to come along and include them after the fact, that's fine, but we don't have to accept it based on the implants. We can accept it based on the way it stands prior to that last offering. And according to what I'm hearing from my fellow board members, that would be okay, because that's the only change. So we would not be discussing the implants as far as our approval, and that's fine with me. And the motion made. Right, we need to make a decision.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Since this is a discussion that obviously is either going to support or deny the superintendent's recommendation, which is the way it's stated and who owns the agenda, I'd like a request that the chair ask the superintendent to weigh in on his position
welcome to
and
weigh
his
in.
decisions, that it is his recommendation.
I would like to say that I probably dislike going to the dentist even more than Mrs. Nisi. And I challenge.
Should we ask them if they cover nitrous? Maybe that would make your visit a little better.
That being said, I will restrain myself from injecting personal bias. But as the board knows, since I took position, adding protocols to senior staff and other leaders in the organization prior to bringing recommendations to the board has been a priority. The Cigna recommendation that's before you went through that vetting process. Any other recommendation you have today did not go through that vetting process, so would not receive my recommendation today. Cigna received my recommendation today, subject to board approval or board rejection.
So that being said, Mrs. Nisi, it stands with you. I don't know if I seconded your motion or not, so why don't you restate it, and then the board could either accept, reject, and then somebody else can make a motion if they reject.
So what again? What am I saying? I'm so confused.
You would, the second recommendation, you would read that without superintendent's recommendation in there and inserting Delta, if that's what you want. If not, you could read it as stated. You did, but I just want to restate it and make sure we have it. I don't recall if anybody made a second or if I made a second on the last motion.
I'm going to restate it because we've had a lot of conversation, and I'm going to add in my 2 cents worth because I can, because I have the mic, because I have the microphone, and I don't think you'll turn my mic off on me. Okay. Just to bring back old times. Okay, I am recommending that we reject the superintendent's recommendation of Cigna and go with Delta because there are no hidden charges and that we will not be putting employee dollars, which is what I see them as, when Cigna turns around and puts them into the employee trust fund. And although it's a little different than how we do contracts, I think the advantages of working with the county will be a win-win. And
I don't know that all needs to be part of the
no,
motion.
I'm putting in my 2 cents worth because I can, and I have the
Okay.
microphone on. But that is my recommendation, and I want this to wrap up because I don't like going to the dentist.
Okay. I will second the motion to approve Delta. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Yes, Mrs. Belford, you're still challenged by the process.
I am challenged by the process, and I truly do not mean to be difficult here. However, the motion.
Do you want to withdraw it?
Well, if to give heed to your concerns, Mr. Craig's and Mrs. Henderson's also, that the implants are not brought to us in a formal contractual manner would mean to approve it in the prior contractual form. And that's where then we would need to go. Because you're all saying that would be okay as a contract. And I agree, that's a valid point.
But even the motion put forward to approve us going with Delta, I think we need a clean motion to vote on.
Well, the
Does
clean
that make
motion
sense?
could be as.
Withdraw my motion because I got wordy.
It could be as clean as what's in the recommendation.
Um,
I'll re- I'll
Can I
withdraw
make a
the second.
motion?
Ms. Henderson would like to make a motion?
It's up to Mrs. Neese.
I make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation.
Okay, I don't hear a second.
Second for discussion.
Okay. Okay, I think everybody, any discussion? I have no discussion on the item.
All I'll say is that, I think that this whole process has just become way outside the bounds of the proper way we should have been doing it. To have a vendor speak to us during public comment to clarify, I think is something I haven't seen before. I don't know if that's right or wrong. It just means that I don't think we had a clear, and I still don't understand if we have a clear understanding of what it is actually we're getting from either side. As I stated before, we have 3 great companies. Every one of them has and will provide great dental service. I think that we need to value the process.
Well, I've got a question, because you say that there is more information, or was there any surprise that several board members up here are interested in a different vendor, in which case that information was presented and could have been reviewed?
Oh, I don't know. What do you mean?
I mean, it wasn't, is this a
Well, no,
surprise? I don't think
it's
so.
a surprise that a vendor felt like they needed to get up to clarify a position that was, I thought, was already in the, either Mr. Langdorf didn't present I don't know. It throws a question about it's not him, I'm just saying, it throws a question around the entire thing. I'm a little bit confused why we would have a vendor stand up and say that.
It's public speaking. I don't think we can prohibit it.
I didn't. Thank you for that great
relevant,
clarification, Mr. Chair. Let's bring it back to actual business. If a vendor is going to get up and present us information that they claim was not presented in their, properly in their position, then I think we need to figure out why that happened.
So you.
Well, I guess my question is, when do you think Mark should have, because it was after the information that he was talking about, the way I understand it, was after Mr. Langdorf had already asked for the best and final. So that was outside the bounds.
So we
2
don't
weeks
ex-
ago,
so we don't accept
Mark
it.
got the
That's fine.
information and put this information in there. A week later, he gets the information that was provided at the stand. Am I correct?
And that's fine. So the motion is without that. The best and final is where we're at. If you all want to reject the last offer, that's fine. Mrs. Neese.
My final reason for voting the way I am is that I can't take money from employees. It's a totally employee-funded product, and I see it as employees are paying for a product, and it's being funneled through a company into our health fund reserves. And I can't get around that.
I can't either.
And that's why I can't support the Sigma.
Yes.
So, I'm not thrilled with the way that all of this has gone down by any means. I think there has been, I now think of dental insurance kind of like I think of software. When I hear that word, I have to cringe a little bit. And I have to thank Mr. Langdorf for all of the work that he has done in digging through all of this, because it's making me insane. I can't even imagine having been there full-time in the process and working with all of it. So, Mr. Langdorf, thank you very much for all of the work that you have done. I, as I said, cannot support a motion that is not a clean motion. I think we need to know exactly what it is that we're voting on. I do, in looking through the information and looking at, you know, what are the common things that I hear people going to the dentist for, what are the common things that we see are happening, I too have concerns about those unknown costs. And I think especially for our population, those unknown costs can be somewhat problematic. We have a lot of employees, and a lot of them are not making a ton of money. They're doing an amazing job for us, and they're working hard, and they're trying to make ends meet, and for us to throw additional expenses at them, I think is unfair. And so my gut feeling is that the better program for our employees is going to be the Delta program. But I will say again, I don't feel good about the way that it's all gone down. I don't think that, I think best and final should have been best and final, and if they want to come back and they want to, you know, out of the goodness of their heart do something beyond that, I think that's fine. But I think that we as an organization have to, as a board, have to vote on what has been put before us. And so whichever direction that takes us, I am open to discussion on it, but I won't vote on a motion that's not clear or something that doesn't provide us with a clear understanding of what we're getting for our employees.
And well said. However, that would then take the current motion off the table, because it is very simply put, because all the details for Delta, Cigna, MetLife are in this item. So anyone that you would get the recommendation, the detail is in here. So I'm not sure when you say you wouldn't, then the motion could be as simple as the one that was just stated, since the details are in the agenda item.
So, but we had two motions there. Remember, we had the motion that you put forward. The motion we are currently discussing is Mrs.
Accepting the
Henderson's
superintendent's
motion,
recommendation.
which was seconded by Mr. Craig for discussion. So we're currently in discussion on
Correct.
Mrs. Henderson's motion, not on the motion that you put forward. So
Correct. Correct.
It's gotten very sloppy.
Yes, ma'am.
Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. Before we sent you back to do this again for your last best and final, which was prior to your last best and final, it was this, all of this was taken to the superintendent's insurance committee, correct?
The first time we did this, the SIAC voted on it. That is correct.
And what did they vote?
On Cigna.
On Cigna. Then then you changed it to Delta. We told you to go back again, and now we're back, and we're back to the superintendent's insurance committee's recommendation, which is even better than what it was before. Is that correct?
The prices are absolutely better than what we had before.
Okay. I just want to keep that in mind, that the committee originally selected, and those are the people who are using the product as well.
That's an interesting question by itself. That's an interesting question. That being the case, then I guess we ought to vote on whether we're going to accept the recommendation or not, and then we can move on from there.
So this is the motion that Mrs. Henderson put
We have to vote on the motion that was put forward, which is to accept the superintendent's recommendation for a 3-year contract for Cigna. If Cigna is not your choice, then you would vote against it, obviously. If it is your choice, vote for it. Voice vote. All those in favor of Cigna say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Nay. Okay, motion fails 4-1. 1-4. Okay, then we need a motion for a recommendation. Well, we accept it as previous as best and final, as stated in the agenda item. And then it'd be up to Delta whether they're going to add including implants or not, but we can't decide on that because it's not part of the presentation.
Okay, I make a motion to approve a 3-year contract with Delta Dental beginning January 1st, 2017 to provide the district with employee DHMO and DPPO dental insurance services.
Okay. So do I have a second? Second. Okay. Moved by Mrs. Belford, second by Mrs. Nisi. To restate, approve a 3-year contract with Delta beginning January 1st, 2017 to provide the district with employee DHMO and DPPO dental insurance services. Any further discussion? Yes,
I just want you to understand that the third year is not a guaranteed price.
understand. Okay, any other discussion? Voice vote, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, passes 4-1 for Delta. And we will get some clarification and direction on how we want to handle these changes and recommendations in the future so that it's a little smoother. Okay, that'll move us on to the action agenda. Dr. Blackburn.
There are 3 items for your consideration. First is item G40, which is purchasing solicitations.
Would you like a break? Anybody else? Okay. Yes, ma'am. All right, we'll take a 5-minute good, or do you want 10? 10. 10-minute recess. Okay, we will move on to the action agenda. Dr. Blackburn.
There are 3 items for your consideration. First item is item G40, which is purchasing solicitations.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, on G40, first by motion by Mrs. Nisi, second by Mrs. Belford. Any discussion? Not hearing any, please vote. Oh, is that what happens? It times out? Not on my, I don't know. Drum roll, please. 5-0 on G40. Dr. Blackburn.
Next is item G41, which is department school initiated agreements.
What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Nisi, second by Mrs. Belford. Any discussion? Not hearing any, please vote. Passes 5-0. Dr. Blackburn.
Item G42 is to hold a public hearing to approve policy 6180.03, temporary transfer of sales surtax between groups.
Public hearing is now declared open. Are there any speakers who wish to address this item? We did not have anybody sign up. Any speakers to speak to this hearing item of G42? Okay, then public hearing is now concluded. What are the wishes of the board?
To approve.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Nisi, seconded by Mr. Craig. Any discussion? Please vote. Passes 5-0. Okay, we'll move on to the information agenda, which includes items for board review and will be brought back for action at a subsequent meeting. No action will be taken on these items tonight. Dr. Blackburn.
Mr. Ziegler, there are 13 items under the information category.
Does any board member wish to discuss anything on the information agenda? No. Okay, not hearing anything to discuss. There are no staff reports. We will now at board member reports and discussion points. In addition to discussion points, I request the board members please include any information requests to be placed on board assigned tasks during this time as well. Any board members have any reports? I don't believe we have any discussion points listed. I tend to look left before right. I don't know why. I look left before right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to bring to the attention of the board that by the vote of Delta Dental, which only went to age 19, Mark?
Yes, we're aware of that.
What I'm saying is that Delta Dental only goes to the age of 19, so anybody in our organization who has a 20-year-old to 30-year-old is no longer covered, but they would have been under Cigna. Is that correct?
That's correct, as I do.
Dr. Blackburn will need to get a notice out to our employees so that they understand that we are no longer covering their students. I understand. People need to make, we're going to give information to our employees. They need to know that they need to go find other insurance for their kids now. I think that's very important.
I understand, and that's why we rushed the decision, is because that information has to be printed to go out to our employees. Okay, anybody else have any board reports? Or Mr. Craig?
I don't have a report other than I do have a request for some information. And I'll just ask Dr. Blackburn. In some of the going through some of the solicitations and things, I noticed that we do have in some of our solicitation responses or agenda items, whether the company that we may be doing business with vendor-wise is either a minority company, woman-owned. Actually, it never says woman-owned. I think we have a category for just minority-owned. Under Florida Statute 287, we have some very specific guidelines in our procurement process of what percentage of construction, contractual services, commodities need to be sourced from diversity suppliers, whether that's minority, women-owned, so forth, as designated. I would just like to have that information. I think the board needs to have that information on an ongoing basis of where we stand. It's not consistent in our items as they're brought forward, and I think it's incumbent upon us as the final sayers of whether or not we do business with a company, that we understand where we sit as an organization in following to the best we can a statute, realizing, of course, that sometimes there are not companies that respond to those RFPs or those requests for solicitation, but it is incumbent upon the organization and as us as 5 board members voting on it to be well cognizant of where we sit with those percentages, and oftentimes will help us make a decision.
I'd love to go one up on you.
Please.
Mr. Craig. Ed Parker and I, he's not here to defend himself, but he and I now have had a couple of conversations regarding whether or not as a system we make a concerted effort under MWBE to ensure minorities, women, veterans, that we're doing business across the board. If it pleases the board, I'd love to just really take that and run with it, not only from a reporting standpoint, but reaching out to see what, if anything, we can do as an organization to either assess where we are and or improve our effort in that space.
I think that's great. You know, just as any taxpayer-funded organization that is contracting services and products, yes, I think that's exactly where we need to go. And I would love to see a strategy for that. And sometimes that is, you know, narrowing a strategy and opening a bid only to service-disabled veteran or women-owned or a combination of those. And again, you know, the requirements are well spelled out in Florida statute. It's great to know from a reporting standpoint, obviously, but it's also the right thing to do. So yes, if you could please move down that path, at least that's would be my hope.
I'll add into that. Well, I support that concept completely. We had conversation, I think, about 4 or 5 years ago of local preference at the same time, because other agencies do that. But what we learned is that Department of Education purchasing rules trumped state rules in our behalf, so we weren't able to go down that road. And I can't speak to the specifics of why that is, but that also has to be looked into.
You're exactly right. That is the case on local preference, and nothing's changed.
That's local preference, but if you do look at the Florida DOE guidelines, as far as minority procurement, and when I say minority, I mean all minority classes that are designated as such in the state of Florida, it is different than
Hopefully. I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out,
Yeah.
that was a roadblock before, and I don't recall
Mr. Craig's also
specifics.
correct, but the difference in local preference was the break in, was the pricing.
Okay, but yeah, please look into that. Go ahead and run with that. Glad you're on top of that.
Will do.
Mrs. Belford.
I just have a quick request, I guess, for Dr. Blackburn on the Girl Scout and Boy Scout issue that we approved. I do think that, or I'm sorry, it didn't come to us for approval yet. It's for information. I do think that we need to ensure that if we tell parents that we are opting their children out of those presentations, we need to make sure that we are absolutely opting them out of those presentations. And I think that goes as an entire system, whatever it is that we are removing them from receiving that information, not just with Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. But I think we do have a duty to ensure that we are following through on those parent wishes. I think it's just bad business for us not to respond appropriately, given the fact that we're providing those opportunities for the organizations.
So I see Ms. Klein shaking her head back there. So between her and Dr. Reinhardt, we'll put together some communication to remind principals on what student rights are in those cases.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Dr. Blackburn, anything for the good of the cause?
No, sir, I'm good.
Anybody else? Okay. Not hearing anything else, then the meeting is adjourned.